Hello everyone, I'm Sunil Solomon. I'm the son of Dr. Suniti Solomon, who identified the first evidence of HIV infection in India. So I was really young when she identified the first cases, but over the years, since I've also been working in the HIV field, I've been talking to my mom several times about the circumstances that led her to look for HIV infection in India. So she had worked in the US prior to returning to India in the late 1970s, and when she finished her MD microbiology, she obviously had students who were medical students and postgraduate students who had to come up with a dissertation topic. So since she had been in the US and had been exposed to journals and evidence-based medicine, she continued that practice even when she was in India. In the early 1980s, there were several articles coming out in several journals where they were reporting this new infection that was extremely common among gay men in the US. And initially you used to call it the Triple H disease because of the Haitians, hemophiliacs, and homosexual men. And then a couple of years later, there was some evidence of heterosexual transmission of this infection. And so my mother said, okay, this was back in 1986. So my mother had a student called Dr. Nirmala. And my mother said, listen Nirmala, we don't have any gay men in India, but we do have a lot of female sex workers who may be at risk because now there is some evidence of heterosexual transmission. And then she also said that my dad, Dr. Solomon Victor, who was the cardiothoracic surgeon, they used to go through bypass surgery where several units of blood were transfused. So she said, let's look at female sex workers and look at patients who are undergoing open heart surgery because of the extensive blood transfusions. And she said, if there is any HIV in India, we should be able to find it somewhere here. And so Nirmala at that point in time said, no, we're Indians are so religious, we'll never find any HIV infection in India, I'll never pass my dissertation. And so my mother at that point said, fine, even if we don't find any HIV in India, you can still report it that India is clean, we're all culturally superior, we're very religious, so that's why there is no HIV in India. So anyways, let's set out on their quest and trying to figure out where sex workers were and where they would identify sex workers in Chennai. And in 1986, there was a home called Zonta where sex workers were rounded up by the policemen and they were brought in there in the middle of the night. And by 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning, all the pimps and the madams would bail the sex workers out. So my mother and Nirmala went to these remand homes at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to collect samples of all these female sex workers to look for evidence of HIV infection in India. So anyways, over time, they managed to collect 100 samples from these female sex workers from remand homes, and they subject them to HIV testing. And out of the first 100 samples that were tested, 6 samples came out as positive. So immediately the government said, no, you cannot announce it because there may be something wrong with these samples. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're testing. Let's send it to the US. Let's send it to the NIH labs because they're the ones who actually know how to do this kind of diagnostic testing. And so the samples were sent from Chennai all the way to Tom Quinn's lab at the NIH, and the samples were confirmed as positive, and then they returned back to India. And it's only following the confirmation from the US that the Indian government announced, yes, we do have HIV in India, and yes, it is among female sex workers in Chennai. So I've been talking to my mom all these years and asking her, would you have done anything differently in terms of how you identified HIV infection? And she always says, I just wish it wasn't among female sex workers. Because what happened as a result of these first 6 infections being documented in sex workers is that stigma attached to HIV became so prevalent in India that even today people think that HIV is a disease only of female sex workers. And the stigma still exists. I think the one thing my mom has always dreamt of, and I think we should strive towards, is an AIDS stigma-free India. So that's something that still hasn't happened. There still is it has reduced over the past 2 decades or 3 decades, but there still is a lot of stigma. And over years, the risk profile of the groups have changed. In fact, right now, like the last thing my mother ever opened was a clinic for men who have sex with men in Chennai. And incidentally, that clinic was inside the same microbiology lab where she documented the first cases of HIV in India. So in 30 years ago, she was sitting in the same lab saying that there are no MSM in India, so we won't find any HIV in India. And 30 years on, in 2014, she opened the first MSM clinic in Chennai for HIV, like a specific HIV care for MSM in Chennai inside the same microbiology lab at the Government General Hospital in Chennai. So I think the one thing we can do to make my mother proud is let's strive towards an AIDS-free, stigma-free India. So my mother, Dr. Suniti Solomon, passed away last year on July 28th, battling pancreatic cancer. Though she is no longer with us in person, her spirit lives on. And I think it's up to us to make her dreams come true and hopefully eradicate HIV from India in the next 3 decades.
Chennai Corporation played an important role in the activities related to HIV and AIDS from 1990 itself. Chennai Corporation, I was the Director of Communicable Disease Hospital, Thandarpet from 91, and I was influenced by a team of people like Dr. Suniti Solomon, who first identified the HIV in Madras Medical College, and followed by that Community Action Network program, people like Robert Uslow, who did a mapping of Chennai city for the red light areas, and we have Pradeep, Umar Kumar, Hariharan, Bhakta. All these people were able to influence us in Chennai Corporation, and subsequently when Mr. Purnalingam IAS, who was the then health secretary, and Abul Hassan and everybody, we all worked together towards starting a clinic on wheels in Marina Beach, where Community Action Network was playing a very important role. That was the first time that we started educating people about sex and sexuality and HIV AIDS in Marina Beach. And then we started an AIDS cell in Communicable Disease Hospital first time, and we started screening people and also counseling people and creating awareness among the population. We conducted workshops with the help of Robert Uslow with all the doctors in Chennai city, and we started screening people for STD and also HIV first time, and we started admitting patients in Communicable Disease Hospital on the instructions of Dr. Suniti Solomon and the support of Dr. C.N. Devanayagam. So whatever we did as a AIDS cell in Chennai Corporation was the first event in the entire country. A local body was able to do that, and doctors were well fluent about this disease and also identify people who are suffering from these illnesses. And we also started a care center much early in 91, 92, 93 itself. And then the special officer, Mr. Purnalingam IAS, who was with corporation, then moved to the government of Tamil Nadu, who started the same program in the government, starting a Tamil Nadu AIDS Society. So corporation played an important role in controlling HIV and AIDS. One, for the purpose of the people affected, and also creating awareness among the people, and we have strongly introduced a program called the School Health Program, which also taken care of by this.
HIV/AIDS prevention program started in the early 80s, but in Tamil Nadu, the first case was detected in 1986. That onwards, many NGOs want to work, but there is a taboo which is related to sex and sexuality. So many NGOs don't want to work with the HIV/AIDS project. It is very difficult. When we entered Association for Rural Mass India, we identified Viluppuram districts, one of the important area for high risk population. They are operating there. So we selected that area and identified many sex workers, especially the long distance truck drivers. They are the high risk population. They go away from their family for more than 10 days to 1 month or even 6 months. During that away from their family, they involve in sex in the national highways, where lot of highway based sex workers are operating, and the truck drivers involved without condom, in penetrative sex. So the infection rate was very high. Condom usage among long distance truck drivers was very minimal rate. So we selected important highway based halt point where most of the trucks are halted more than 1 hour or 2 hour, mostly in the highway based dabas where the truck drivers took their food and drinks and rest everything. First they resisted to response to the HIV. Why you are coming to us? What way we are related with HIV AIDS? We are not involving in any sex. That way they resisted. They don't accept their behaviors. They don't accept their high risk activities. So in the beginning we struggled with them to convince them through one-to-one interaction, through communications and group based interactions. Then slowly they started to accept us. Even in the starting, when we get the office for HIV AIDS, no owners willing to give the premises for the office to run the HIV AIDS project, especially for truck drivers. Truck drivers also not willing to respond to the HIV AIDS programs. So it was a very big trouble for us to convince them to the owners of the premises to get offices, and also to convince them to the truck drivers to involve in the project.
After HIV was detected in 1986, there are several tasks across MCCSS, which is headed by the bishops, and also the several heads of churches are members of this organization. So when people wanted to take HIV, we were apprehensive about it, and we didn't want to take it up because it's a disease of the sinners. So we didn't want to take it up. Then the question of spreading through needles and syringes came. So at that time MCCS was taking up the spread of diseases through needles and syringes in big hospitals. So it came handy to MCCSS to take it up, and we entered into the HIV AIDS intervention. At that time, the MCCSS, the members were objecting, saying, why should we take it up? Because we are deviating from our community development. But since it is affecting the poorest of the poor, we took it up. Then at that time, Tamil Nadu SACS came in and supplied condoms to us. So we were also supplying condoms to the people, which is headed by a Catholic bishop. At that time, the funding agency chairman came and he learnt that we are distributing condom, which is against the principles of Catholic Christians who are supporting us through funds. So he wanted to make it sure from the Archbishop, and went and met him and clarified whether he knew about the use of condom in this program. And Archbishop very clearly told, yes, he knows about it, and the MCCS is working among the general population where only 2.5% is Christians. I don't want to force our principle on the general population, so we have allowed them to continue the work. So this is how we entered into the program, and we were working among almost 1 million population who are living in the Hatmand areas of Chennai.
Red Ribbon Club is a very innovative project which is now adopted as a part of the NSS National Service Scheme and adopted by many of the higher education centers in the state and also in other states also. It is innovative because it helps the students to understand the vulnerabilities associated with getting into areas where they can have sexual contact, like alcohol drinking or drugs and all other things, when they don't have much of a control over themselves. And also peer pressure. The peer pressure will definitely lead them to these things, and it was an intervention that we had planned with the Tamil Nadu State AIDS Control Society, and I was at that time working as a scientific officer with CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And originally this idea was in Madurai, when we started as an Infotech center, which was promoted by the USAID supported APAC project, which was later on taken by the State AIDS Control Society during the time of Dr. Vijay Kumar. I should say that there are a few people who supported this very much, and Dr. Bimal Charles, who was at that time the project director and also later on working as a CDC epidemiologist. And then after that, Dr. Regina Papa, who was the lead person from the state who spearheaded this program, and Dr. Vijay Kumar, and many other people, especially vice chancellors and professors, who actually made this a great big success. And later on, we produced a practical book on the same issue to be practiced in various colleges. And at that time, the Bangalore-based Myrada and INSA helped in producing that, publishing that book under the auspices of the state and CDC.
I am proud and happy to be part of the team who started working among core population in 1992. Community Action Network is one of the first NGO who started working among sex workers, MSM and transgender community in India. It was a tremendous experience where a lot of challenges. As you know, still there is stigma and discrimination. Just imagine 25-30 years before. So we face a lot of problem, no one willing to give the office and so much issues. Over a period of time, we are able to make a good difference in people's life. I am very happy to say that the experience of Chennai contributed a lot to the national program as well as to the international HIV prevention program. Most of the great lessons started like peer education and other community empowerment and other initiatives from Chennai and different NGOs. Their experiences really added great value at national level. But still, I think there's a long way to go, because based on the experiences in Africa and India globally, even though started with the HIV program, it is moving into a great community empowerment process, and community becomes centric of the HIV program. So that is a great achievement, I think, in HIV program which started in Chennai. So I'm happy to be part of the program till now. The community's contribution and their empowerment has come a long way. But still, I find in most of the countries this is a big challenge to overcome. Still, in most of the countries, they see community only as a beneficiaries rather than thinking them they are the center of the program and they are the real stakeholders who has to lead the program. Now, a lot of community-based organizations has evolved over a period of time, and they are taking not only the HIV program, the overall development of the community in their hand and moving forward. Of course, still they face lot of challenges, financial crisis, support from different corners. So this is really a challenge. I think all the stakeholders has to really put their effort in helping the community and the community-based organizations to move forward and overcome all the obstacles.
In 1986, as you all know, we saw the first case of HIV/AIDS in Tamil Nadu, and specifically for the whole country. Just like any other new disease, usually the response from the community as well as from the healthcare community, specifically, I would like to say, would be to identify the possible causes and then treat it immediately. But when this disease came in the year 1986, it was mostly associated with the behavior, morality of the individual, and then people were, the healthcare providers specifically, were afraid to handle these patients because of the fear of contracting the infection. So the major issue of discrimination of patients started, I would like to say, was from the healthcare providers perspective, because when a disease comes, if the healthcare providers are not interested to treat them for the fear of contracting it, then automatically the general public will be really in a panic state. This is what has happened in the year 1986, and it took almost 5 to 10 years for many of the healthcare providers to start learning how to handle this situation and then treat these cases. As a postgraduate student and as an undergraduate student, when I was studying, we were given the impression that HIV is equal to AIDS, and then people who are having HIV had to die. This was in the year 1999. It was not too far. During that time, many interventions specifically for healthcare providers were started, especially with many of the state AIDS control societies and funding agencies like USAID. So this was mainly aimed at targeting the healthcare providers, the allopathic practitioners, and also the allied healthcare professionals like pharmacists, nursing professional, alternate system of medicine practitioners, to whom these people had gone for treatment. That had basically created a great impact on the awareness among the healthcare providers first, and then there were many efforts taken by the National AIDS Control Organizations to establish centers of excellence for training doctors and treating patients. So all these years basically had been taken to improve the knowledge levels of the healthcare providers to treat the patients with the best clinical care and also without discrimination. Even in the year 2001 to 2003, we had very great difficulty in convincing surgical specialty people when we had to do any surgery for HIV positive patients. This was a case in one of the premier institutions in Chennai, in the government setup. So if that has been the case in capital city like Chennai, think about the situation in other places. So we had to do a lot of intervention among surgeons and other specialty people like obstetricians, pediatricians, orthopedicians, how to take care of HIV positive patients while doing surgeries.
First HIV case is find out in Chennai, and it is 30 years completed now. Tamil Nadu is one of the pioneer in HIV/AIDS prevention throughout the state, and also in India, Tamil Nadu is doing a wonderful prevention and control on HIV/AIDS. Lot of civil society organizations, they are pioneer in HIV/AIDS prevention. Now we have come to 30 years now, but unfortunately no HIV/AIDS bill is passed in India. Basically, health is our right. As per our constitution, it is our fundamental right. So each and every person, they are equal before law. So we need to have a strong law for those who are affected by HIV AIDS. So in this juncture, it is very important for our affected community to have a strong HIV AIDS bill in India. Hope very near soon we will have a strong law in India. Then only we can help our affected community, civil society organizations and other stakeholders. I am basically representing a civil society organization called Empower India, based in Tuticorin, Tamil Nadu, a southern tip of India. We have been working for the betterment of the community for HIV rights. We have filed so many cases to protect the rights of the affected community. Why we are talking about the HIV AIDS bill is the strong law only will help the affected community to ensure their right in the length and breadth of the India. And I appreciate to take this effort by the ICWO, ORG CARE and IAVI in this juncture. Thank you.
In the year 1985, Dr. Suniti Solomon, maybe you all know about her, she contacted me and said and asked me whether I can get blood samples from the commercial sex workers whom we are attending in our department, sexually transmitted department at the General Hospital, Chennai. About 30 girls who are attending our clinic at that time, we took samples from them and gave to Suniti Solomon, and Suniti Solomon sent it to Vellore, CMC, Christian Medical College, Dr. Jacob John. Dr. Jacob John. Dr. Jacob John is a microbiologist, and he did the test, and to our shock, we found all the 30 were positive for HIV. And that was the beginning of HIV in the country. And all the media gave big headlines and said that the AIDS has attacked India through Chennai. Then the government started the work. At the time, Dr. H.V. Ande was the health minister, and immediately I was called by the Delhi government, and the Center for Communicable Diseases Delhi, some Dr. Nair or somebody was there. He asked me how everything went on. Then I told, and immediately they said, we have to find out some funds for this, because this is a new disease which is not listed in the communicable diseases so far, so we need funds. And because it is a global problem, maybe the global funding agencies may come forward to help us. In that way, so immediately after that, the World Bank took keen interest in controlling AIDS, HIV in our country, because they thought India is, because of the cultural background, India may not be affected by this disease. This was the concept at the time. But to their surprise, India seems to be, seems that it may be the worst affected country by AIDS than any other country. So with this, the AIDS, the World Bank came forward and conducted a series of workshops in which they have decided to first do a survey on sexually transmitted diseases in 3 regions. One is southern region at Chennai and Tamil Nadu, in the selected risk population, and Jaipur and West Bengal red light area. In these 3 areas, we were selected. Dinesh Thakur is from Jaipur, and Dharam Shatru from Bengal, and myself for Chennai. In Chennai, we took samples from transport workers, prisoners, and two more groups. So 4 groups. And pregnant women like that. 4 groups we collected samples and tested and found out 7.2% of risk population are affected with different types of sexually transmitted diseases.
Following the detection of the first HIV case in Tamil Nadu, we had a new and very interesting experience with people who inject drugs. That the HIV infection was not coming from the standard drugs, as we call it, but from pharmaceuticals, and that we had learned pharmaceutical injecting is resulting in a quick and rapid transmission of HIV and AIDS. So, Tamil Nadu, we have seen actually very high prevalence rates from pharmaceutical injecting, and this called for a different approach to what was being seen in the Northeast, where it was heroin injecting. That here we had a higher rate of abscesses, a higher rate of sharing, and that the population who were injecting were, it appears to be very poor. And this has led for us to understand that there were 2 sub-epidemics which were taking place in India. One which was from injecting heroin, which was the Northeast, and the other which was injecting pharmaceuticals, which was other parts of India, but Tamil Nadu was actually like a control center for us. We have learned so much from this experience. The first rapid assessments, in fact, were done by colleagues like Dr. Suresh Kumar and Father Desmond Daniels, and this has informed us that the HIV and AIDS epidemic is not a simple, straightforward epidemic. It is very complex. What was very good to see is the response in Tamil Nadu has led to the management of HIV and AIDS in injecting populations to bring the prevalence. One time it was recorded that 60 out of 100 injectors had HIV, and I believe that now that number is very low. The big challenge that we face, of course, is that we are a resource-crunched country, and poverty will always lead to epidemics and sub-epidemics. And I think we have seen now that the challenge of HIV/AIDS is not just a management of disease, it's a management of communities, it's a management of society, and that when we have talked about a multi-sectoral response, currently we have gone back to trying to manage something only on the basis of biosurveillance and biological intervention. We are recognizing the need again, as we have learned, and the excellent example from Tamil Nadu, that response must be multi-sectoral.
AIDS. Nowadays we are talking about AIDS as a common man's subject, but when it was detected and then was detected and found out, first case was found out in Tamil Nadu, people were not prepared to accept it. That was the case in 1986 when the first case was detected. Nobody wanted to accept that Tamil Nadu has the AIDS, but the government took a lot of initiative to make the people understand and to accept it, and then the AIDS cell was formed to prevent, to control, and to create an awareness of the people, to the people. But when it was formed, it was not very easy to take up, because when the money was flown to these things, it was not allowed to be utilized it, because nobody knows how to utilize it, how to bring out all these things. So the AIDS cell which was formed under the Directorate of Medical Education, somehow I was selected, not selected, I was thrusted upon the responsibility of controlling it. But I also was not aware what to do. But anyhow, the government, with the help of the WHO or the other organizations, we had instructions. So we formed various groups comprising of public health, transfusion medicine, that is nowadays it is called transfusion medicine, that it was blood bank, and venereal diseases, because it was spread through the intravenous injection, drug addict and transfusion, and the sexual activities. So we had three components on it: public health, to create awareness and prevention, and then organizing the blood transfusion services, and then prevention and curative action of the venereal diseases. So that was the initiation. So we started organizing blood transfusion services and various clinics for preventing venereal diseases and controlling the diseases, advising the people to prevent it by using the condoms, which was a challenge for us, because nobody in the public want to accept, and the people who have been saying to us that all this government is promoting unauthorized activities, like promoting the multisexual partner activities, by advising them to use the condoms and all this. But it was a very challenging affair, which we could prevent with the help of lot of NGOs at that time.
எச்ஐவின்ற வார்த்தையோட எய்ட்ஸ்ன்ற வார்த்தை தான் கொடுமையான வார்த்தை யூஸ் பண்ணின்னு இருந்தாங்க. அந்த பல போராட்டங்கள் 29 ஆண்டுகள் நாங்கள் கழித்து அந்த எச்ஐவி கிருமியோட வாழ்ந்து பல மக்கள் தரப்பில் பணிபுரிந்த ஒரு சந்தோஷம். அதே டைமில் சந்தோஷத்துலேயும் எங்களுக்கு ஒரு பெரிய தாக்கமும் வந்தது. அந்த தாக்கம் 1998ஆம் ஆண்டு இந்தியன் எக்ஸ்பிரஸில் சிட்டி எக்ஸ்பிரஸ்ன்ற காலத்தில் என்னுடைய லைஃப் ஸ்டோரி அண்டு நான் எச்ஐவி தொற்று உள்ளதை பற்றி முழுமையாக வெளிப்படுத்தினால, அதால் என்னுடைய சமுதாயத்தில் திருநங்கைகள் அனைவரும் என்னை அட்டாக் பண்ண வந்தாங்க. அட்டாக் பண்ண சாதாரண அட்டாக் கிடையாது. 10 லிட்டர் பெட்ரோல் எடுத்தாந்து என்னை கொளுத்த வந்துட்டாங்க. அந்த டைமில் நெஞ்சை நிமித்தி நான் போராடி மற்ற மக்கள் மத்தியிலலாம் நாங்கள் சர்வீஸ் செய்துட்டு வந்து ரொம்ப யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக இருந்தது. இப்போத்தி நிலைமையில் பார்த்தாக்கா மறைமுகமாக நிறைய திருநங்கைகள் எச்ஐவியால் தொற்று உள்ளவங்க வெளிப்படையாக சொல்லாமல் எங்களை விட்டு மறையிறது ஒரு வேதனைக்குரிய விஷயமா இருக்குது. போதுமான அவேர்னஸ் கிடச்சிச்சு நினைக்க, இன்னும் அவேர்னஸ் கிடைக்கல. அவங்க மத்தியில் இன்னும் நிறைய சர்வீஸு நம்ம செய்ய வேண்டியதுக்கு கட்டாயத்துக்கு ஆளாயிருக்கோம். அந்த கட்டாயத்திலேருந்து மக்களை நம்ம காப்பாது நம்மளுடைய கடமை. ஏன்னாக்கா நான் ஒரு ரோல் மாடலாக இருந்து மக்கள் மத்தியில் வேலை செய்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது. ஆற்றல் மக்கள் எல்லாம் ஒன்றா இணைஞ்சு எந்த மக்களும் நமக்கு வேற்றுமை, எந்த பாலினமும் இல்லை, எல்லா பாலினமும் ஒரு இனமாக தான். மேலாகட்டும், ஃபீமேல், டிரான்ஸ்ஜெண்டர் ஆகட்டும், MSM, FSW அண்ட் சில்ட்ரன்ஸ் அத்தனை கேட்டகரியும் ஒன்றாக இணைத்து அவங்களுக்காக நம்ம ஆலோசனை கொடுத்து என்னை போல வாழ வைக்கணும் என்னுடைய கட்டாய கடமை. 1987ஆம் ஆண்டு ஜூலை 22ஆம் தேதி எனக்கு எச்ஐவி கிருமி தாக்கப்பட்டதாக எனக்கு ஆலோசனை கொடுக்கப்பட்டது. அதுக்கு முன்னே டிசம்பர் 1 அன்னைக்கு ஒருவர் கண்டுபிடிச்சாங்க. 87ஆம் ஆண்டு தான் என்ன கண்டுபிடிக்கப்பட்டது. கண்டுபிடிச்ச பிறகு நான் பெரிய இன்னல்கள் சந்தித்தேன். ஏன்னாக்கா எங்களுடைய சமுதாயத்தை பார்த்தா நான் ஒரு குடும்பத்திலேருந்து ஒரு ஸ்டிக்மா, நான் டிரான்ஸ்ஜெண்டர் ஸ்டிக்மா, இன்னொன்று எச்ஐவின்ற ஸ்டிக்மா, இத்தனை 3 ஸ்டிக்மாவை நம்ம அனுபவிக்கிறது ரொம்ப கடினமானது. ஆனால் இந்த டிரான்ஸ்ஜெண்டர் மத்தியில் மட்டும் எச்ஐவி வந்தாக்கா ரொம்ப கொடுமையானது. ஏன்னாக்கா எங்களுடைய சமுதாயத்தை அவங்களுக்கு பலான நோய் இருக்குது பார்த்து எங்களை ஒதுக்கி வச்சு பார்த்தாங்க. அந்த ஒதுக்கல்லையே நாங்கள் சாதனை புரிந்து, ஏன்னாக்கா ஒரு வார்த்தை சொல்லுவாங்க, எல்லாம் திருநங்கை வார்த்தையில் எங்களை சமுதாயம் இருக்குது. சமுதாயம்னா நான் சமுதாய மத்தியில் நான் டிக்ளேர் பண்ணி சமுதாயத்துடைய அன்பை நாடினால்தான் இந்த அளவுக்கு நான் மேலும் மேலும் வாழ்ந்து மக்கள் மத்தியில் சர்வீஸ் செய்யறதுக்கு ஒரு ஆளாயிருக்கேன்.
என் பேர் மேரி தாமஸ். செல்வி மெமோரியல் இல்லம் சென்னையிலேருந்து வரேன். எங்களுக்கு வந்து ஹெச்ஐவிக்காக கடந்த 25 வருஷமாக வேலை பார்த்துட்ருக்கோம். செல்வி மெமோரியல் இல்லம் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணதுக்கு என்ன காரணம்னா, செல்வின்ற ஒரு பெண்மணி ஃபஸ்ட்டு சென்னையில் வந்து டிக்ளேர் ஆன பெண்ணு. அந்த டிக்ளேர் ஆன பெண்ணு மூலியமாக தான் செல்வி மெமோரியல்னு வச்சுருக்கோம். செல்வின்றவங்க வந்து 84 வந்து ஹெச்ஐவி இருக்குதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு 84 உள்ளே பிடிச்சி போட்டாங்க. 84 உள்ளே பிடிச்சி போட்டுட்டு 1 வருஷம் உள்ளே இருந்தாங்க. அந்த பிளட் டெஸ்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு ரிசல்ட் வர்றதுக்கு 85 தான் ரிசல்ட் வந்துச்சு. 85 ரிசல்ட் வர்றதுக்கு முன்னே ஷாமலா நடராஜன் சியாப்பில் சவுத் இந்தியா ஆக்ட் செக்ஷனில் ஷாமலா நடராஜன் வந்து 84 இவங்களை உள்ளே பிடிச்சி போட்டுட்டு 85 வரைக்கும் 1 இயர் கேஸ் நடந்துச்சு. அந்த 85 பிளட் டெஸ்ட் கன்ஃபார்ம் ஆனதுன்னா இவங்களை வந்து இப்படி கொடுமை பண்ணக்கூடாது, இவங்களை வந்து வெளியில் கூட்டிகிட்டு வரன்றதுக்காக இவங்களை வெளியில் கூட்டிகிட்டு வந்து 86 வெளியில் கூட்டிகிட்டு வந்தாங்க. வந்து அவங்க 86 வெளியில் வந்து 10 வருஷம் வெளியில் இருந்தாங்க. 10 வருஷம் வெளியில் இருந்து 2002 இறந்து போயிட்டாங்க. அப்போ செல்வி மெமோரியல் நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணது 99 நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணேன். 99 ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி அவங்க பேர் அவங்க நினைவாக அவங்க சொன்னாங்க, இந்த மாதிரி மக்களுக்காக என்ன மாதிரி பாதித்த மக்களுக்காக நீங்கள் இந்த வேலை செய்யுங்க, என்ன நல்லா பார்த்துக்கிட்டீங்க. அப்போ எனக்கு பின்னாடி எத்தனையோ பேர் இந்த மாதிரி இறப்பாங்க, அவங்களுக்காக செல்வி மெமோரியல் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுங்கன்னு சொல்லி அவங்களுக்காக தான் செல்வி மெமோரியல் 99 ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி இது வரைக்கும் மற்ற மக்களுக்கும் ஹெச்ஐவி பாதிக்கப்பட்டவங்களுக்கும் வேலை பார்த்துட்ருக்கேன். 1999 நான் செல்வி மெமோரியல் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி தாம்பரம் டிபி ஆஸ்பத்திரி பக்கத்தில் செல்விக்காக ஹெச்ஐவி பாதிக்கப்பட்டவங்களுக்காக ஒரு ஹோமை ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணேன். அதில் நிறைய பிரச்சனைகள், ஏன் சில ஹெச்ஐவி ஹோம் இங்கே இருக்கக்கூடாது, நிறைய ஸ்டிக்மா ப்ராப்ளம் அந்த மாதிரியெல்லாம் எங்களுக்கு நிறைய ஃபேஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்துச்சு. ஆனால் அந்த செல்வின்ற பொண்ணை பார்த்தது கொண்டு இந்த சர்வீஸ் பண்ணது கொண்டு எனக்கு ரொம்ப மன தைரியம், மனசுக்குள்ளே இன்னி அது நிறைய போராடணும் என்ற ஒரு வெறித்தனம் ஜாஸ்தியாகி தான் இது வரைக்கும் செல்வி முறையிலும் எங்களை விடாமுயற்சியாக ஹெச்ஐவி பாதிக்கப்பட்ட மக்களுக்கு வேலை பண்ணிக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம்.
என்னோடய பேர் சுதா. நான் டிரான்ஜெண்டர் ஆக்டிவிஸ்ட்டுன்னு சொல்லிக்கலாம். சென்னையில் தான் இருக்கேன். ஆக்சுவலாக பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஹெச்ஐவின்னு சொல்லும்போது திருநங்கைகள் வந்து ஒரு நன்றி கடன் பட்டிருக்கிறோம் அந்த ஒரு வார்த்தைக்கு. ஏன்னா கடந்த ஒரு 25-30 வருஷத்தில் இந்த ஹெச்ஐவிங்கிற பெயருக்கு அப்புறமா வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறமா பார்த்திங்கன்னா திருநங்கைகளுடைய வாழ்க்கை அதோடவே சேர்ந்து வளர்ந்துருக்குன்னு சொல்ல முடியும். அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய விஷயங்கள் 2 பேருக்கும் ஒன்றா போயிருக்கு. 92 கம்யூனிட்டி ஆக்ஷன் நெட்வொர்க்னு ஒரு நெட்வொர்க் வந்துட்டு முதலாக தமிழ்நாட்டில் துவங்கப்பட்டுச்சு. அதில் வந்து திருநங்கைகள் இருக்காங்க, அவங்கள நம்ம கண்டறியணும், அவங்க மத்தியில் வந்துட்டு ஹெச்ஐவி தடுப்பு பணியை கொண்டு போகணும்னு சொல்லும்போது யாருமே நம்பலை. அப்போ நான்லாம் ரொம்ப சின்ன வயசு எனக்கு. அப்படிலாம் யாரும் கிடையாதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு எல்லாருமே மறுத்தாங்க. ஆனால் அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு சர்வே பண்ணோம். சர்வேயில் சென்னையில் வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 1200 பேர் வரைக்கும் இருக்கதான் கண்டுபிடிச்சோம். அவங்களோட இடங்கள் எங்கே இருக்குது, அவங்க வந்துட்டு அவங்களோட பழக்க வழக்கங்கள் எப்படி இருக்குது, அவங்க எவ்வளோ பேர் வந்து காண்டம் பற்றி தெரிஞ்சிருக்காங்க, எவ்வளோ பேர் வந்து செக்ஸ் ஒர்க்கராக இருக்காங்கன்னு சொல்லும் போது ஒரு பெரிய அதிர்ச்சியே சென்னையில் இருக்கவங்களுக்கு காத்துட்டு இருந்துச்சு. அந்த மாதிரியான ஒரு பீரியடு. ஆனால் இப்போ அப்படியே யோசிச்சு பாருங்கள், 25 வருஷம் கழித்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இந்த 25 வருஷத்துடைய ஒர்க்கு நிறைய போயிருக்கு. அதில் குறிப்பாக பார்த்திங்கன்னா திருநங்கைகளுடைய மத்தியில் ஹெச்ஐவி தடுப்பு பணியை கொண்டு போகிறது ரொம்ப பெரிய சவாலாக இருந்த காலம் அது. காண்டம் பற்றியே பேச முடியாது. இவங்ககிட்ட போயிட்டு ஹெச்ஐவின்னு சொன்னால் என்கிட்ட ஏன் இதை சொல்ல வரேங்கிற மாதிரி எல்லோருமே நம்மக்கிட்ட அகைன்ஸ்டாக திரும்புகிற ஒரு நேரமாக இருந்தது அந்த பீரியட். அதில் மெதுமெதுவாக நாங்கள் எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து அதை உடைக்க ஆரம்பித்தோம். அப்படி இவங்க மத்தியில் பார்த்திங்கன்னா இறப்பு சதவீதம் அப்போ அதிகமாக இருக்கும். ஹெச்ஐவின்னா அதுக்கு வந்துட்டு ஏஆர்டிலாம் அப்போ கிடையாது. ஆனால் இறப்பு சதவீதம் அதிகமாக இருந்துச்சு. ஒரு 92க்கு அப்புறம் ஒரு 2000லாம் பார்த்திங்கன்னா இறப்பு சதவீதம் ரொம்ப அதிகமாக இருக்கும். மாதம் 1-2 திருநங்கைகளை நாங்கள் எழுந்துருவோம். காரணம் அப்போ வந்துட்டு ரிப்போர்ட்டிங் அதிகமாக இருந்துச்சு. ஏஆர்டி எடுக்கக்கூடிய விதம் அவங்களுக்கு அந்த பயம்லாம் போகாமல் இருந்துச்சு. அதில் நிறைய பேர் இறந்தாங்க. அப்படி மெதுவாக 2005-06க்கு மேலே பார்த்திங்கன்னா அந்த இறப்பு சதவீதம் குறைஞ்சிருச்சு. காரணம் இவங்களுக்கு அந்த அவேர்னஸ் வந்து அதிகமாக இருக்குது. அதுக்கு பல தொண்டு நிறுவனங்கள் வந்துட்டு உதவியாக இருந்துச்சு. இப்போ இன்னொரு பக்கம் இந்த ஹெச்ஐவிக்காக பணிகள் செஞ்சுட்டு இருக்கும் போதே இவங்களுடைய சப்போர்ட்டிங் சர்வீசஸ் மாதிரி எதெல்லாம் இவங்களுக்கு இருந்தால் இவங்க இந்த பாலியல் தொழிலுக்கு போகாமல் இருக்க முடியும், ஹெச்ஐவியை வாங்காமல் இருக்க முடியுங்கிறதுக்காக நிறைய சப்போர்ட்டிங் சர்வீசஸ் என்ஜிஓஸ் பண்ணாங்க. அதில் வந்துட்டு அவங்களுக்கு வந்து தேவையான சோஷியல் என்டைட்டில்மெண்ட்ஸ் வாங்கி கொடுக்கறது, இவங்களுக்கு ஆல்டர்னேட்டிவாக சிறு தொழில்கள் செஞ்சு கொடுக்குறது, இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய விஷயங்கள் செய்வாங்க. ஐசிடபிள்யூவெல்லாம் வந்துட்டு தமிழ்நாட்டில் குறிப்பாக சென்னையில் நிறைய விஷயங்கள் இதுக்காக செஞ்சுருக்காங்க. இவங்களை என்டர்டெயின் பண்ணுறதுக்காக நிறைய ப்ரோக்ராம்ஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க. குறிப்பாக மிஸ் இந்தியாங்கிற ஒரு ஷோலாம் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இதெல்லாம் வந்துட்டு இவங்களுக்கு இந்த ஹெச்ஐவியோடைய ஃபண்ட்லேயே நடக்கிற மாதிரி தெரியும். ஆனால் அதனால் அவங்களுடைய லைஃப் மாறி வந்திருக்கு. அது ஒரு பெரிய ஒரு நல்ல விஷயமா நான் பார்க்குறேன்.
In way back 1986, the first case of HIV was identified in Tamil Nadu. Since then, many people want to know that where are people living with HIV/AIDS. The problem is the awareness is there, and none of the people in early days seen person living with HIV/AIDS. More importantly, in early 1992, when I was working in the hospital as a laboratory technician, I found out to be HIV positive. The next day, the hospital management was removed the job. Actually, I lost my job due to HIV status. Since then, many people with HIV/AIDS, including myself, I thought I lost my life, and I thought of doing suicide also. There is no guidance, no information available for people with HIV/AIDS. The only information available on HIV/AIDS is it's fear-based and moral-based information, which is leading people with HIV/AIDS go to underground. And the basic information of living with HIV/AIDS also not available in early days, leave alone treatment. Now care, support, treatment, lot of information available. The earlier days, even the basic information how to live with the virus for a person living with HIV/AIDS, which is not at all available. So since then, many people also not only going to underground, and there are also lot of people get into the habit of alcoholics. Not only that, and they are getting suicide also. So a lot of suicides happening because no information available, no services available, no counseling available, no treatment available. Having this situation, myself personally with HIV/AIDS, educated, and not many people knows about HIV status by themselves, I formed a group called support group first. So the basic inspiration came to me is the person living with HIV/AIDS in 1992, Mr. Dominic D'Souza. He is the first person who opened about his status in India. He opened about his status, and his stories inspired me. There is also article about HIV/AIDS in Junior Vigadan in 92. It was written by Dr. Jaya Sridhar. There it was written like, who will lead this role? Who will tie a bell to cat? So that is inspired me to start a PLHIV network, PLHIV group, first time in the country way back 93-92. So through the support group, small support group, one-to-one contact, we are able to meet each other and share our experiences and having the hope. Even people with HIV also can have a hope.
I'm HIV positive. I'm first person found HIV in a gay community, 1992. First time come out, declare myself, I'm HIV positive. Because of MSM, like a gay community, no one believed HIV spread through men having sex men. So wrong misconception there at that time. So after I come out, I'll do the work in our community to create awareness and among the group. So I create awareness in gay groups and the general public, 92 to 93 to 96. So more people understand the HIV/AIDS, how spread virus. So slowly that NGOs, I'm working the NGOs before the CAN, after we started SWAM. So nearly 20,000 people covered that time. So people all using condoms, and then HIV infections come down. But still, it is the program strengthen, giving to support. But now the support is very less, so the continuous support, the new infection won't come. Because the MSM people, more people to want to need to continue safer sex, we distribute condoms, need support in cancers also. When I come out to declare myself HIV positive, there is more stigma and discriminations. In the 1993, nobody don't know HIV how spread it. So media people and everywhere in public all think about AIDS is a killer disease. So my family members all won't talk with me, send out. I'm heartburn, and public also don't know the mosquito bite and HIV spreader, and through air also contact disease. The people think that wrong misconception. So after they create awareness past 15 years, now slowly the stigma come down, but still now the family, the societies can change now. But still now the family members isolated stigma because of gay community and then HIV also. Actually the programs, the need supported continuity, the community-based organization, NGOs and international people supported to continue the program. Otherwise new infections come up. Because new people, gay people come to this field, the people don't know how HIV is spreaded. So that purpose of need, otherwise is stop the funds or stop the program, new infections rise. After 4 or 3 years after testing, definitely the infections rise in the government sector. And NGOs and CBOs and NACO and international funding is to collectively people to gather to work the field and stop the AIDS. So give hand to gather to work this field. So otherwise can't stop.
ActionAid is an international organization operating in more than 47 countries. ActionAid takes sides with the most excluded and marginalized in our society. So in this context, we were extensively working among people who are infected with HIV and AIDS, especially women and children. In India, we have been working with people who are infected with HIV and AIDS, focusing on women and children since early 2000. In Tamil Nadu, as part of a Chennai regional office intervention, we've been working since then till date. Our focus is mainly on addressing the issues of rights of people who are infected with HIV and AIDS. In our society, the prevalence of stigma and discrimination against people who are infected with HIV AIDS is quite high. So therefore, ActionAid has built our own participatory tools like Stepping Stone, which focuses on sex and sexuality, bringing attitudinal change among the society, also among the people who are infected with HIV and AIDS. And we have also brought out our own participatory tool called STAR, that is Society Tackling HIV and AIDS Through Rights. As ActionAid strongly believes in our human rights based approach, in early 2000 when we started working among the community, that is people who are infected with HIV and AIDS, we mainly worked among the civil society organization. Civil society group greatly contributed towards upholding the rights of people who are infected with HIV and AIDS. Along with civil society group, ActionAid built the capacity of the people who are infected and promoted the organization of the people who are infected with HIV and AIDS and made them to understand their rights and empowered them to hold the state accountable in terms of accessing their right to quality treatment. Women are the ones who are actually marginalized, who become more vulnerable to HIV and AIDS. Therefore, women were empowered through various capacity building programs and they were made aware of their right to live a life without any stigma or discrimination and their right to access quality treatment as well as nutrition. In this connection, ActionAid also contributed towards facilitating platforms, bringing all the civil society groups together and advocating for the rights of the people who are infected with HIV/AIDS by holding public hearing and things like that, by facilitating various networks and platforms. In this way, we were able to achieve to a greater extent the rights of the people who are infected in the society to live a life without any violence, stigma and discrimination.
First case of HIV was detected in Tamil Nadu. Through India, we are the first time we detected in 1986. And since then, there have been flow of HIV cases. Me being a STI person, I am interested a link between STI and HIV. Presence of STI increases the chance of acquiring or transmitting HIV disease. If you control STI, the prevalence of HIV will come down. This has been proved by various studies like Manza study, China study, etc. For the control of HIV, in 1992, AIDS cell was started in Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu are the pioneers in starting this. First control society was started only in Tamil Nadu, and after that we were thinking of how best we can control HIV. And as we know already, the control of STI will bring down HIV. The more importance were given on STI control side. And what was done by Tamil Nadu AIDS Control Society is the strengthening of STI clinics in medical colleges, headquarters hospitals, and NGO STI clinics were started, and Avehan clinic, that is again an NGO clinic, and all the private practitioners were trained on dealing with HIV cases. And free treatment was offered for the treatment of STI. So because we have strengthened the STI clinics, and because we have trained more people, because we were giving free treatment, the patient's access and availability to quality STI treatment has increased. So people were treated properly, and that has resulted in control of STIs, and prevalence of STI came down. And naturally, that has resulted in controlling STI also, HIV also, and HIV prevalence also has come down. But still we have long way to go. More awareness has to be created, and quality STI treatment, free treatment has to be continued, and this STI should be included in medical curriculum as more important, and at least one essay question should be asked in undergraduate level.
Good morning. I'm very glad to be here to share my experience in work of HIV/AIDS. In 80s, everyone was happy that health had improved, maternal and child care, family planning, leprosy, all were in control. Then suddenly the emergence of AIDS, which is completely different from other health issues. Other health issues mainly were on physical health. Just health education, diet, guidance was needed. But for HIV/AIDS, we had to go into different type of understanding, sensitization, and capacity building. TeenVJ was one of the pioneering organization to introduce HIV/AIDS to the community. In 1990, with the support of Voluntary Health Association, MMC and CMC, TeenVJ organized systematically the training and capacity building of organization working with community. Because without the community, we cannot prevent, control, or provide care and support for the person with HIV/AIDS. And what is the difference with other health issues and AIDS? When other health issues affected only mainly the physical part of the person, HIV/AIDS affected physical, mental, social, economic, sexual and spiritual aspect of the person, which is very difficult for persons to understand. So the main aim in capacity building of organization was to understanding knowledge of the NGOs, build their capacity, sensitization of them, because no one had seen person with HIV or AIDS. There were many myths and misconceptions, and everybody was afraid that a person with HIV can affect others around them. So the knowledge had to be built, sensitization has to be built. Because of all these things, there were a lot of social stigma which made person with HIV/AIDS very difficult to live in this world. Even up to suicide people were going. So the approach of NGOs had to be a different way. They have to be learn about how to do a study among the community, learn what was the target they have to achieve. For most of the health, it is only public or the community, mother and child had to be addressed. But in this, different type of target where has to be achieved. Persons with person who are traveling most of the time, migrant population, person with different sexual orientation.
On behalf of IAVI, YRG Care and ICWO, I like to sincerely thank you all for taking your valuable time to watch this video. The fight against AIDS is not over. We need to keep up the same level of commitment to ensure zero new infection and ensure a quality life for people living in HIV/AIDS in India. Thank you.